Love it or hate it, RGB lighting is a staple that is definitely here to stay. However, unfortunately, we've gotten to a point where many manufacturers look at it more as an obligatory checkbox than a purposeful inclusion. The keyboard I'm going to show you today has every RGB setting you could have ever wanted, and then some. Today's video is brought to you by Symphonized and their GTS wireless earphones. Crafted from quality materials such as silicone, aluminum, and even wood, every Symphonized purchase donates $1 to music therapy for a child in need. Bring your audio game to the next level and feel great while doing it with Symphonized. Check the video description to get 15% off. Today we're looking at the Raydem MK01, which is a mechanical, full-size RGB keyboard. It sells for roughly $45, and they're able to get it to this price point by omitting a lot of higher-end features. So you don't have any volume control, dedicated media controls, no USB pass-through, no mic or headphone jack on the keyboard, and also no dedicated software. It comes in at almost 900 grams and is extremely sturdy. Even under a significant amount of strain, it displays basically zero flex. These characteristics are likely due to the full-length aluminum backplate that surrounds the keys. It measures 438 by 135 by 38 millimeters. And that's actually a surprisingly small footprint considering that you get an entire row of function keys and a full number pad. And it comes with a lot of extras. Obviously in the box you get the keyboard and the instruction manual, and most mechanical keyboards with removable keycaps will also include a keycap puller, but this one goes a step further. It has a microfiber cleaning cloth, presumably to make the aluminum backplate behind the keys nice and shiny, and also has this tiny little brush that again is likely to get crumbs out from in between your switches. This is a first for me. Maybe other keyboards do this. I've had, dozens of keyboards come through the studio, and this is the first time I've seen either of those inclusions. The feature list contains everything you'd expect from a gaming peripheral. Now, whether you think this is just marketing jargon or actually useful is up for debate, but it does have 100% anti-ghosting, N-key rollover, and a Windows lock key function. Underneath the keyboard, you have rubberized pads to keep the keyboard from sliding around on your desktop, and extendable legs to angle the keyboard. Now, the legs don't actually elevate the keyboard much more than it just laying flat, but whether it's laying flat or extended with the included legs, there is zero wobble observed whatsoever. But let's get on to the interesting features. So as I mentioned at the beginning, it is a mechanical keyboard. It does not use Cherry MX, which are more or less the standard. This particular keyboard comes without Temu Blue switches, which are good for 50 million key presses each. However, I noticed that they are slightly quieter, and the click sensation appears to actuate further down on the keystroke than on a traditional Cherry MX switch. But let's move on to the feature that we're really here to discuss, and that is the RGB lighting. Now, this manual right here has 6 pages. Only 4 of those pages actually have information on them, and 3 out of 4 of those pages are dedicated to talking about the RGB lighting. Everything else this keyboard does, they managed to fit pretty much onto a single page. There are 14 effects, and even within those you can adjust the speed, direction, brightness, and color. Now, of course, it has your typical RGB keyboard effects such as rainbow, ripple, and even breathe, but they don't call it breathe. For whatever reason, they call it respire, which technically means the same thing, but why? But there are several other effects that I think are pretty unique and worth talking about. The first one is a sine wave function. If you've ever been in a calculus or trigonometry class, you should be very familiar with this waveform. It is, of course, a sine wave, and you can adjust both the speed and the color of this wave. The next feature is raindrops, which, as the name indicates, it looks as though rain is falling down on your keyboard. You can also change the color here, and if you set it to red, it gives a nice doom effect, which looks like blood dripping down the keyboard if that's something you're into. The next special feature is what's called Starry Night, which makes the keyboard twinkle different colors randomly, but if you set it to its maximum speed, it will 100% give someone epilepsy. But then there's something that I think is equal parts gimmick and equal parts actually kind of cool. These are game-specific RGB settings, and it will illuminate keys typically only reserved for use in specific games. There are acronyms even stamped onto the keycaps, and they use the acronyms and don't reference the names to the games they pertain to in the manual, and I imagine that's probably for licensing issues, but it's pretty easy to tell what they're for. FPS, of course, is for any generic first-person shooter. It illuminates the keys that you'll typically use for that type of game. CF, I imagine, stands for Crossfire. This keyboard comes from China, and a popular game over there is a game called Crossfire, so I imagine that's probably what it stands for. COD, I think we all can agree, is Call of Duty. LOL is likely League of Legends, and then race, I think, is likely just any generic racing game. I think that's the most likely scenario. And then, of course, you have G1 through G6, which is reserved for you to be able to customize any layout for any game you want. Functionally, I have nothing to complain about. The keyboard works phenomenally. If I had to nitpick, the font choice for the keycaps is really goofy looking, and I could definitely do without the orange accent around the perimeter. Thankfully, it's almost always hidden from view, but who would want orange of all things? I was constantly impressed with the build quality of the MK01. The price to performance ratio here is very high. Despite those glowing remarks, though, I have some serious questions regarding some of the design choices that were made. But if my subjective complaints don't bother you, then I definitely give it my seal of approval. Well, thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful and or insightful, then go ahead and give it a like and follow my link in the video description where you can use my affiliate link to get this product for yourself. And also, don't forget about Symphonized, who was nice enough to sponsor this video. Again, any purchase you make of one of their products, $1 goes to a really good cause. And yeah, so check out their link in the video description and find out how you can get 15% off. We've done other recent videos on peripherals. We did a Raspberry Pi NES build recently, which you can see. That was a lot of fun. And if you want to be notified when our new content is available, then don't forget to subscribe, and hopefully you will receive notifications when our next content is ready. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.